Unfiltered opinions.
Sometimes you have ideas and you're not quite sure why.
As you secure the bag.
Sometimes you meet people and realize there's probably a reason why you stayed in touch.
Just listen.
Sometimes all the pieces just come together by themselves.
I'm Jimmy Moyaha.
And I'm Simon Brown.
Welcome to Insider Exchange.
Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Insider Exchange. Welcome to Market Matters, live streamed every Monday for your viewing pleasure. Obviously, the rest of the episodes will be out later this week. Today on Market Matters, we get straight into it. We look at call them diplomatic relations between South Africa and the United States. We also take a look at South Africa and the United States' interest rates. Both countries are giving interest rate decisions this week, and we take a look at one of the most surprising corporate moves that we have seen in recent times. Perhaps we'll start with that.
Recent times.
I'm driving to studio this morning, and
For the record, I'm having some muesli. I know nothing until you arrive in studio and tell me about this, but carry on.
so we see the same announcement, though. You and I see the same Standard Bank announcement.
7:15 this morning.
Right. The Deputy CEO, Kenny Fihla, has resigned, is now being placed
CEO
on
of Standard Bank South Africa, and he is gone like immediate.
immediate effect, as of last
Your
night.
parking bay is cancelled, your access card doesn't work.
Now, for context, for those in our community joining us, when a resignation like this typically happens, there might be a process of garden leave, there might be a process of a restraint of trade, there might be a bit of, let's prepare some people about this decision. And from the perspective of the deputy CEO, or former deputy CEO of Standard Bank, the succession path is something we'll get into as well. But the process that's followed is such that someone would then ease into things, right? That was the announcement probably around 7-ish, 8-ish this morning from the Standard Bank team. At the same time, there was a little subtle something dropped online. I think it was Bloomberg that dropped it first, that he would then be stepping into the role of CEO at Absa, a competitor. And I happen to be
direct competitor.
I happened to be driving, so I didn't get this. But when I got to studio, you and I looked at this, and I just pulled up the SENS announcement, and it's there, effective 17 June.
3 months.
3 months from now, he assumes the role of Absa CEO, but not only Absa Group CEO, Chief Executive Officer and Executive Director of Absa Group and Absa Bank, effective 17 June 2025, subject to regulatory approval. Now, obviously, regulatory approvals, blah, 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 blah. We're not here about that. It's not the shocking part.
No.
3 months, garden leave, restraint of trade, key man things. What's happening?
Because to be clear, I mean, these are direct competitors. They have strategies. He walks in to Absa knowing exactly what their biggest competitor down the road is doing.
I spoke to the incoming CEO of Absa, Kenny, last week with Standard Bank results.
Yeah.
So this is as fresh as a daisy, and I have so many questions. And I think one of them is what you and I were trying to look at is if you have been put on the
exact same path,
career trajectory as the current group CEO.
CIB, Standard Bank SA CEO, Deputy CE.
So again, for context, Deputy Chief Executive of the Standard Bank Group is effectively you in waiting for when the CEO steps down to be then appointed.
Yes.
Why would you leave?
Absa gave him the keys to the vault. Said, help yourself.
What vault? Standard Bank is the largest by assets on the continent.
You don't have the vault, but you don't have the keys. Absa gives you the keys and says, whatever you can carry. No, that wouldn't help because you can't even carry that much. I mean, they must have. I don't. It makes no sense because I mean, the man has more money than he can spend, although maybe he doesn't. Why is he leaving Standard Bank to Absa, which has had a small bit of a challenge keeping CEOs? There's certainly been some frictions.
So if we look at job security, you've been at
You're on
Standard Bank for almost 18 years, I suppose, right?
You're going to earn R1 billion as CEO of Standard Bank over a decade or two.
Okay. Let's look at the current CEO's structure. Now, all of this is publicly available information. We have not breached anybody's
it's not
poppy.
secrets.
No secrets here, right? According to the latest annual financial reports from Standard Bank, the Standard Bank CEO, current group CEO, Sim Shabalala, has about 635,000 odd Standard Bank ordinary shares at 230 Rand a share. That equates to around 146 million odd Rand worth of Standard Bank shares. Now, obviously, he would have accumulated that over a number of years.
And he's been selling.
And he's been selling.
And he earned 80 odd million last year.
Right. But interestingly enough, between last year and this year, that number has moved from 521 odd thousand to 635 odd thousand. So has acquired more shares, whether it's by way of compensation or by way of actual purchasing of the shares. But either way, there was no mention in the annual reports of the shareholding that the former deputy chief executive would or had at the time of resignation. And that could be one side of it. But the bigger question is what you raised, Sai, is you go into a bank that has a history of, what is it? I think it's 5 CEOs in 6 years, or is it 6 CEOs in 7 years?
like that.
I'll do the math for you in a second, and I'll come
What
back
about
to you
the
on
Paul
that.
Oak who's sitting there? Who
Charles Russo. Charles
like-
Russo, the interim CEO.
it's like awkward. I
No,
had
no,
plans.
no. That might be the wrong interim CEO. Give me a sec. I
I
will.
thought that was the right
That
one.
was
but
no.
I-
That is the interim CEO. I was
yeah.
right, Charles Rusin. That is an interesting question because I suppose you've then effectively made up your mind around who's going to be your group chief executive.
So he's out.
He's out,
That was
effective
an awkward
June.
conversation.
And
Yes.
he stepped in around October of 2024 when Ari Rothenbach
So he gets
resigned,
8
retired.
months, which comes back to ABSA. I mean, whatever. Love them, hate them, or something like that. I mean, like they've had no long-term CEO since Mira Ramos, who left in what, 2018?
Yes.
Um,
Since then, it's just been interims and shuffling through CEOs
well,
on a
and
regular
people
basis.
leaving after 18 months, whatever the case is. In other words, there's been no long-term
Stability.
coherent plan.
Which also then begs the question, one of the most stable Standard Bank employees to move across, are you hoping that you
brave.
bring the stability?
Well, patently you are. I mean, look, they must have given him. So weirdly, we couldn't find him having any shares at Standard Bank or any options
That were
or
declared.
anything.
So that would mean he might not be an executive director that would have to declare.
Yeah, he's not. He's not on the board.
Yeah. So only certain individuals would have to make that public knowledge, and that is directors and public interests.
Because what we found out was that when Jason Quinn left ABSA for Nedbank, he gave up 60 million odd of deferred bonus shares at ABSA, and Nedbank was like, no worry.
Here's a 60 million Rand check, so you don't have to worry about that. Do you think that's the same situation that happened here?
They have to have, depending what he had. But that's so okay. So they've matched them 1 for 1. Okay. But now you are within a couple of years almost certain to be CEO of Standard Bank, the group.
So
right?
the current CEO can't be there
A bank
forever.
that's doing quite well, a bank that has continuity.
Absolutely.
Sim has been there on his
Stability.
own for 8 years.
You've been in the same... Just the logic.
Et cetera.
Yeah.
You're going to get the top job.
Yeah.
And you go to ABSA and they keep you whole, but like ABSA is an unknown to you. And if you look out as a pure outsider, I look at ABSA and I'm like, yo, that's a non-fun job to be trying to work out. So then maybe he was told he's not getting the Standard Bank job.
Oh. See, that's an awkward conversation to have.
But then who does?
Yeah, but exactly, who does? Because in order for you to get that job, you have to have had experience in...
How old is he? The Standard Bank has a fairly, what's the word I'm looking for? Strict retirement policy
Okay, retirement policy on...
on everyone.
Okay.
So let me see. I'm checking how old.
54 as of last year. So would be turning 55 this year. So even if your Standard Bank retirement policy is at 65, you've got 10 years left in
It's
you.
63, but you've got almost 10. Sim's 57. Maybe Sim has said to him, I'm going nowhere. Maybe Sim has said, Sim's 57. Sim's been there having the job for himself for only 8 years. He'll be 10 years in 27. He shared it with Ben, but let's not count that. Ben Kruger. Or what did you call it for Afrikaans people?
Ben Creer.
Creer. That's Creer International. Yo, I know, it confuses the heck out of me. Anyway, so maybe Sim said, you know what, dude, I'm actually going to do myself a third term and I'm going to stay until 2032. Why not? Although, truthfully, I would want to spend time with my money at this point. In which case, in 7 years' time, that oak's got no time left. Maybe it's like he got squeezed.
Do you think ABSA just offered him a lot more money?
It can't be about money at this point. I mean, how much more? Sim's earning 60, 80, 100 million a year. What, they offer you 150? What are you doing with that extra 50?
Well, that and the shares, because we also don't know what share structure you've had. So if you're getting in on ABSA shares...
I just, at this point, surely it can't be the money when you've got that much.
Okay, we will reach out to the powers that be, see if anyone will talk to us about this and see what happens. We're going to move on to the...
$10, no one's talking.
$10, no one's talking. We're going to move on to the other matters that we said we were going to discuss in Market Matters. The wonderful, we're calling them diplomatic relations between South Africa and the United States. The United States electing to kick out our ambassador to the US. The whole weekend, that's the only thing that was trending on X, was South Africa should retaliate. We shouldn't take this lying down.
Whoa. There was also a small matter of a Grand Prix yesterday, but I mean...
Yeah, sorry, we skipped over that at some point.
I did not. I didn't wake up at 6, but carry on.
Yeah, but I mean, that and
it was the story
whole
of X.
South African X was just like, we can't take this lying down. And other parties were like, oh, this is what happens when you F around and find out. And
Trump doesn't like South Africa. Lots of reasons why. I still think that the G20 is one of them. Certainly Elon Musk doesn't help. Certainly the farmers telling them that bad things are happening doesn't help. Trump doesn't like us. So, I mean, the best one I saw, and I forget who wrote it, it was one of those long tweets, someone who pays a lot of money to have lots of
write long
characters.
tweets.
Yes. And he was saying, you know, Ibrahim Rasool's, whatever you think of him, he's not actually a fool. And he probably realized the writing was on the wall. He has spent 2 months trying to navigate this. He's realized the writing's on the wall. And he not went rogue, but if you listen to what he said, he didn't say much. I mean, largely, he basically said this MAGA thing is crazy, is right-wing, and is dangerous. And I appreciate that a lot of people don't agree with that. But the whole thing of diplomatic relations is that they're not always so diplomatic. That's the point of diplomatic relations. This is only the 4th time the US has kicked out an ambassador. And like others have been like...
in history.
In 66, since World War II.
Okay, but across all countries.
Yeah, I mean, so the others are like Bolivia.
Oh, we just missed top 3.
Yeah, so like Bolivia, Iran, and some... I mean, it's like
Iran, I can understand Iran.
We're in bad company here.
Yeah, okay, so... But this is the thing. Ibrahim Rasool, for those that need a bit of context, was previously an ambassador to the United States under, I'm trying to remember the administration, either the Mbeki administration or the Mandela administration. So seasoned international diplomat. And here's the thing. When you're dealing with diplomatic relations, as Sai said, it's very much something that you're never going to always agree. You have to find each other in conversations. You have to, you know what I mean? And so for someone as seasoned as Ambassador Rasool to be called out of retirement, at the time he was called out of retirement, let's be clear, he wasn't unemployed. He was the chairman of the Development Bank of South Africa's board, right? And so he was called out of that by the president to come serve the national duties. Now, someone as seasoned as that wouldn't just, I'd like to think, wouldn't just let emotion get the better of them in some of their sentiments that they are saying.
No, he knows what he's doing.
He knows how to relay conversations, how to navigate conversations, how to have difficult conversations, right? And a lot of the conversations that have happened now has been, oh, but do we have the right international relations minister in place? Who do we send next? Blah, blah, blah. And to your point, Si, around the who do we send next, some of the conversations have been saying the United States won't accept anyone that we send next. They simply won't.
Which again is from a diplomatic relations completely unheard of. But to be clear, wild stuff's happening over there. At Standard Bank and in America. But
it's crazy everywhere.
And I said before, I mean, you know, when Trump doesn't like you, like he currently doesn't like Canada. I mean, we're in a weird group, right? It's like Mexico, Canada. Oh, he likes Russia. He doesn't like Ukraine.
Mexico, Canada, the whole of Europe and NATO, Ukraine, and China, but we will align. We like the one BRICS country, the one that's got
Yeah.
the potential to go into a nuclear war with us.
And to be clear, when he doesn't like you, like it doesn't matter actually. And is it right or wrong or fair that he doesn't like us? Doesn't matter. He gets to decide who he doesn't like, and he's not liking us. And I mean, it's just Zelensky's coming here, and when that news broke 2 weeks ago, so he's coming in April. When that news broke, I'm like, no, dude, like stop and fighting. You want to fly under this radar? We are not flying under the radar. And
We
that's
stopped
what
flying under the radar a while ago.
That's what I think Rasul realized, is that like we're not avoiding this, so let's
Yeah.
go down in a bag of flames. So he was given 72 hours, and then weirdly they gave him an extra couple of days. He's got to be out by Friday. But it's weird because it's his family, it's everyone. I mean,
Yeah.
Now I don't know what his family is. I mean, he hasn't got young kids.
No.
But yeah.
Still, so here's the thing, right? From a diplomatic relations point of view, the presidency came out and said we will engage on diplomatic what's along the relevant channels, etc. Basically, we will follow the proper procedure and we won't act out the way the United States has, right? But at what point does that stop? If we are taking the narrative that the United States clearly doesn't like us, and we're anticipating we're going to be removed from AGOA, and we're anticipating that relations have broken down. Yes, they're going to take over the G20 presidency in November. Yes, Donald Trump has already expressed he has no desire to come here to fetch the G20 presidency.
Post it.
Exactly. So if this is already the situation, and we've got tariffs imposed on us, and we're already on the receiving end of the United States' wrath at this point, why then does the presidency say we still want to come to the table and sit down? Why then does the presidency still want to pander towards a country that doesn't want...
Because he's doing diplomatic relations diplomatically.
Is that how it's supposed to be done? Diplomatically? Okay.
Which truthfully, I probably like Donald Trump can't spell.
Okay, so we're doing things diplomatically. What happens when diplomatically doesn't work out? Where do we go from there?
Isn't that how World War One started? They shot the oak because things were. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not sure. I just don't know.
What does this mean for us
'cause
locally?
Remember, well, directly it means not much. It means we don't have much influence in Washington. We can get influence the other way, the more effective way, which is by buying influencers. What do they call them? Don't look at me like people who go to Congress and talk to congressmen and say, please pass this bill or that bill. Come on, there's a word for it. They got things. They're called influencers. They're not... anyway, so we lack that. Truthfully, we didn't have much. It does... I mean, it's important. We need to be in Washington and talking to the American government. But here's the next thing, right? We were about to rename Santon Drive, as I say, Johannesburg, after a female Palestinian person. Because I'm not... Whatever you call her...
Struggle, stalwart, whatever, but non-South African individual, yes.
$10 says they closed that embassy. Now... you can't visit America because where do you get a visa from?
Okay.
As I said, Trump doesn't like us.
That's fair. And that's something that could definitely creep up to other conversations that happen online was South Africa and the trade side of it from that perspective. Trading partners and all of that. And I saw an interesting tweet from Clayson Munyela. He said that the United States is no longer it's not our largest trading partner. Lobbyists. Okay. You said influencers, and I'm like, the TikTok kind?
Sorry, carry on.
So, excuse me. Clayson says, the United States is not our largest trading partner. China is first. The United States sits third. The EU bloc is second. So if we are shifting ties and we're dropping our third largest trading partner and we're leaning into this non-aligned stance of doing what's best for South Africa and blah, 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 then what's best for South Africa is to lean into the BRICS bloc, to lean into the Eurozone, to lean into Asian trade with China and Russia and everybody else, and to reestablish South Africa as the strong country on the African continent. Because at some point, we were the biggest, we had the biggest airline, biggest economy, all of that stuff. So if that's what we're doing, if that's the non-aligned approach that we are going to take, then government of South Africa, let's be brave about it. Let's stand our ground and
100%.
re-establish what non-aligned means then.
Because everyone's like, oh, don't worry, Trump's gone in 3 years and 10 months. Sure, but we don't know who Trump tours. We don't know if he doesn't do 3 terms. Does he ban elect? Who knows?
Can we just pause there and dissect how much damage can be done in 3 years and 10 months?
We're not even 2 months in.
We're not even 2 months. Exactly.
So I do agree with you. There is a humongous realignment happening in global geopolitics. And I think, yes, America is important, but there's now going, if it does go where there's like America and then there's like Europe and then there's like BRICS and all of that, America might not be the right one to be aligned with anymore, but it's going to be messy, noisy, and painful as that transition happens.
This is going to have to be a conversation for many, many other days because we have so many factors to look at when we look at this. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Shout out to our TikTok community. As always, we love you guys. You guys keep us going. We are growing on YouTube as well. Shout out to that community. Just in general, hey, Insider Exchange. You guys are fire, hey. Before we wrap things up, we're looking at the effect of tax bracket creep in our deep dive. If you want to look at that, it is coming off the back of the latest sentiments or the latest budget speech that was proposed that said that there would be no inflationary adjustment to the tax brackets. At the same time, the finance minister said that there would be no impact for personal taxpayers, and that is kind of not true. So that's our deep dive. Tune in for that. It will be out if you are going to be looking out for that episode. It will be out later in the week. Until next time, Market Matters, that's it.